Great Masters, Skull and Bones, Tales from Beyond the Sea. It's an album that surprised me in some areas and underwhelmed me in others. So let me get this out of the way first. This is the first album I've heard from Great Master. It was recommended to me in my Spotify releases as of the prior Friday, and I only recently got around to listening to it in the last 2 days. Now let's start with the good before I, you know, show you what's not the best with this album. And honestly, when it comes to that, it's kind of small and would only really bother a small section of like metal fans. So the good, this is a overall solid album. You're going to get what you really are looking for if you're looking for, symphonic power, melodic metal. Simple as that. Now they aren't as crazy as like bands like Ailstorm, Rumberhoy, Lagerstein, those kind of self-referential kind of pirate metal bands. And I wouldn't even put it in the same kind of vein as Stormseeker or anything like that. They are more traditional power metal, more traditional melodic metal that are just so happening to go for a pirate theme. And oddly enough, you know what? It's a welcome change. You have Stormseeker doing that more darker, gritty side of like the pirate life, and then you have on the opposite ends bands kind of taking the piss and having fun with it, like Ailstorm, Ramahoy, and Lagerstein, as I previously mentioned. And yet again, it was a nice change for this album to be a bit more story driven. It was a good listen from start to finish, and as I said, it was a welcome change. Now, let me start with the highlights of this album for me, and I'll go down the list from, track 1 to track 11. Starting off with the second track, Shine On. This is a song that kind of surprised me. I wasn't expecting, a catchy song. I didn't expect that. I was expecting more of a kind of mid range production pirate themed album, and this song kind of smashes that and shows that there is a lot of production value that they are trying to put in. Like everything is clean, you can hear everything. I found no issues when it came to audio mixing from track 1 to 11. And I know this probably seems like cheating, but this song is what you're most likely going to be listening to for this entire album, except for a few changes and sections in some of the songs. This is a good representation of what the album sounds like. It is solid, it is catchy. When I first heard the song, I did repeat it a few times, so that's a plus. It's that classic, modern, symphonic, melodic metal that, is kind of in right now. And yeah, I welcome it with open arms. My second highlight is A Haggard Man, coming after three songs that I just thought were, pretty good and okay and were, just fine listens, but, start to feel a little bit boring. A Haggard Man came along and was a surprising nice change of pace. It was the first slow song of the album, apart from some of the slower sections of some of the songs. This song focused a lot more on being slow. It was widely varied, had multiple instruments take the spotlight. You got your acoustic guitars, you got your piano towards the end, and during the chorus, you've got your electric guitar. It's a song that is simply structured. It's, a enjoyable song. It serves as a good change of pace and a break up for the album. I ended up really enjoying it, and that's why it's a highlight. And finally, my final highlight was Skull and Bones. Now, this song was an homage and a tribute to that kind of pirate style of, the metal side of music. It's a fun end song with the previous song kind of being the, for me, true end, and this song being its kind of bonus song, even though it isn't. It it was a fun listen. It's got its charm and it was really enjoyable. They kind of overplay some of the aspects of the song, but not to a ridiculous extent. It's kind of subtle and it's there, you'll notice it, but it's, not overwhelming. It's not in your face. If you were to introduce someone to this album and you would start with Skull and Bones, they would probably assume that that's what the album sounded like, even though it kind of doesn't. And it was, a good end song. And I kind of don't really want to go into too much detail about this song because, it's a great listen if you're a fan of pirate themed metal. So, yeah, this song is a hard recommend. Now, I did have for me a song that I would say is a runner up, and that was The Black Spot. Now, this song has probably the best vocal range in the intro in the entire album. If you want a comparison for what the intro goes for, listen to Grail Knight's Grail Skull Asylum. The intro goes for that sinister feel. But after the song poked me with that interest and that, different direction, it kind of goes back to being just standard melodic power metal and nothing special. And that sucks, and that's why I'm giving it a runner up because that intro is so good. It's just a shame that the rest of the song isn't as good and doesn't, live up to that standard. And while I'm on the topic of standards, let's talk about the other songs because you know what? They were all pretty good and they were all enjoyable listens. Only problem is that they were a bit too formulaic and they kind of sounded a bit similar to each other. While this album is quite story driven, I just started to kind of fade in and out of interest, and as the songs went by, I kind of fell in and out of interest. The songs were good, they were enjoyable listens. I would listen to this album again. Unfortunately, it just kind of felt a bit too formulaic and a bit too safe. There was nothing out there. It was, a good listen, but a boring good listen, if you know what I mean. It was too safe. If you want me to compare it to someone or something, it's the Avengers of pirate themed metal. It plays it safe, it knows its strengths, it knows what it's going for in terms of genre and everything, and that's fine. People are going to enjoy this album, and yes, I enjoyed this album. Unfortunately, I was looking for a bit more variety, and while there are glimpses in some of the songs, there were only small sections, and when they appeared, I was kind of bummed out that they would just disappear. I was hoping for it to kind of stay or maybe try something different, but it just doesn't. It just plays it a bit too safe. They're like, here's a hint of something different, and I'm like, ooh, that's good. Can I get more? And they're like, no, and they just kind of take it away from you, and it kind of sucks. And it happens on more than one song. And with all that said, would I recommend, you to listen to this album? Yes, I would. What would I rate this album? A solid 6.6 out of 10. I was considering of giving it a 7, but I thought that would be a bit too high. I didn't want to give it a 6.5. I was thinking about giving it 6.7, 6.8, but honestly, I didn't think it was worth giving it that. I don't know, I just kind of had a feeling. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 6.6. It's a good listen. There were some great songs in there. Unfortunately, it's just a bit too formulaic for me, as I like to look for songs that are a bit more out there from bands. But yeah, it was a good listen. And you know what, if you're a fan of formulaic content, why not consider maybe subscribing to this channel?